Welcome, everybody. Here we are today with Julia Balaz. So excited to see you. It's been a long coming getting this meeting together. And Julia's based in Ireland and she's a galactic astrologer, which I am so excited to learn more about because I really don't understand much about it. And so, Julia, as you know, have a little bit of a cough, so you were going to introduce yourself and share a little bit about you to start.
Thank you, Kelly. So nice to be here with you and get to know your community a little more as I subscribe to your channel and love your content, love your energy, your vibe. So it's such an honor for me to be here. So just briefly about galactic astrology or how I am involved with this type of work. I was offering one-on-one services, quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, QHHT technique developed by Dolores Cannon over 7 years. And because I was interested in astrology from very early on, from my mid-teens, I asked every client for their birth details. And after their regression session, after they told me everything about their life, and I kind of observed their subconscious patterns and their family dynamics from what they've described, after their session, I explored their astrology chart. And over the years, as with any discipline, when you see a huge amount of data, you start understanding any topic in greater depth and you recognize different patterns. And with astrology, what you see is really quite fascinating. The deeper you go and the more you see, there is just this beautiful constant validation that there is order in chaos, that somehow things are divinely orchestrated. One big thing that I've learned is that even if people don't understand astrology, the map is inside our hearts, our souls. And if we just follow what feels right, if we follow the intuitive guidance, if we follow the signs that sometimes are quite obvious, we are going very much with alignment of planetary bodies and transits. And I love those mind-blowing moments when I notice certain manifestation in our everyday life experience and then see it translated into astrological transits, the archetypes and movement of planets. And it's just really so amazing to see how we are truly connected and moved by these celestial bodies. So to make the long story short, at some point I started observing the stars in my clients' natal charts too. And I've noticed that, especially with regression hypnosis sessions, when clients regress spontaneously to lifetimes that seemed like not on Earth, they were describing all kinds of different planetary conditions and different types of bodies, oftentimes more either ethereal or plasmic or like higher density experiences where it was really obvious that this is a completely different star system even. And then reflecting on their natal chart and even the transiting planets when they were in alignment, for example, with Sirius star, and the client then connected to their Syrian family and became very emotional, remembering the connections and realizing that they were connected all along, like our star families are sending love and wisdom and encouragement all the time.
It's
It's
so
just for the
amazing.
time being, it's important for us to be under the veil of forgetting so that we can fully focus on this life experience. For people who start to spontaneously remember their connections to stars and whole range of beautiful, compassionate, wise beings, when they are going through that transit of remembering, it is completely distracting them from their current life experience. They're really kind of downloading all kinds of energetic codes and oftentimes are wiped out energetically and need to really just kind of breathe through it, as
And
I'm sure
ground
you might
back down.
experience sometimes. So, oftentimes people fantasize about or dream about or wish for and pray for remembering their star connections and their star family. But if you're praying for it in a time period where you're really meant to focus on here and now, interacting with your family members, something important is going on, or you have a big project in your work, you can't really pray for the interference from the stars because it takes over your mind when it happens. And then you integrate it and then you're able to be more grounded in that remembrance and knowing and understanding, and then you can kind of go back to being on planet Earth full on. So it's like that.
So it kind of seems like
Yeah.
it's a map that validates for us the moments in our life when that's supposed to come in so that we're not inviting or asking it when it's not the moments
Yeah.
because
I love the prayer of, I love prayers that are aligned with more surrendering, like bring into my life what is in alignment with divine timing, with kind of with the destiny
that it's
that was
been
planned for me by our own higher selves and our team of wise guides. So many people who regress to life between lives, they would experience the planning of their incarnation and everything they were choosing in terms of family, DNA lineage, the traumas, the important moments, the highs and lows, and always in alignment with the astrological orchestration too. So it's quite fascinating to see that too.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we all have our beautiful, great design, right? The design of each lifetime in the plan, and often we can't see it and we're immersed in it. But when we have a map or something that validates or shows it for us, like what you're doing, it's so profound. I remember in the late 80s, I started to channel, and when I began, one of the first things that happened was really kind of interesting. And my grandfather came in, and my father, who was an elderly, like was not so open-minded to these kinds of things in that moment, was talking to him and a little bit questioning. And he asked to speak to his aunt, which was my grandfather's sister. And at the time, he said, "Oh, well, she went to a different planet. She's in a different star system, and she's
Wow.
and that," and talked about. And then after that, this other energy came through where it was named Blue Eyes, and all that it spoke about was color, and it was just this beautiful sphere and orb of light that was just moving. And they said there was an entire star system and whole planets of just based only on the frequency of color and geometry. And back then, I mean, now we know this and it makes more sense to us, but in 1988, it was very foreign concept. And it's just so beautiful with the regression work and what you're doing that people tap into those memories of those different places that we've all been. And it seems like these memories are really surfacing and coming in, and we're feeling our star families, and people are connecting to them. And I really appreciate you saying not to force it or want it to happen, and just to allow and to surrender for it to come in when it's meant to. And recent years, I've been channeling the Syrian elders, and when they come, they're so loving and sweet, and they've been giving us gifts, with their hands and pyramids of light and healing. And you can just feel their presence in the room, and it's so beautiful. But it, of course, had to come when it did. And if it had come many years perhaps before, people wouldn't be ready. And so I love just allowing it to unfold when it unfolds. But if you have this map, like what you're creating, and people can see their galactic astrology, I think it gives them a sense of comfort and knowing. And so tell me a little bit about how do they go about doing that, and what do people discover in this process?
Thank you for laying the question so beautifully. It really gives greater acceptance and peace, because there is this element of doubt inside us when we don't see something tangibly, and especially if the collective consensus is still not there about extraterrestrial human life existence and reincarnation and all that. The doubt is quite strong. So although we feel everything and we get signs and magical synchronicities happen, and we feel something very real, still the doubt is there, the mind that likes everything nice and square. So then when you see these things written black and white through astrological chart, that doubt goes away, and you just, there's a shift in frequency that is quite noticeable, where people have more light and more higher vibrational frequency inside their being, and more magic starts happening. So for example, when you mentioned that suddenly this Syrian guides came to your life, I bet that if we would look at the transits of when that occurred, star Sirius would be transiting something in your natal chart. For example, in my experience, not so long ago through dream, I connected to star Sirius. In a dream, they said the dog star, which was so odd to me because I never used the dog star name for Sirius. And they, like in the dream, it was revealed that the connection is important for me right now. So then when I woke up, I looked at the transits, and Sirius star was exactly on my ascendant. So natally ascendant, when you're born, the eastern horizon, what is rising on the horizon, that's the astrological degree that is called the ascendant. So right now, Sirius is, going through my ascendant. So I'm reflecting and connecting more with the Sirian frequencies. And look, here we are, where you have the strong Sirian energy coming through. So it's just so amazing
That's
how it works.
beautiful. And so you've trained so many people in this work that people can go to and get their whole chart done and know all this. I mean, for someone in the work I do, because I channel so many different energies, to see where it's coming in would be so powerful, because it would not only, like you say, is it validating, but I could even direct as I'm teaching and the work I'm doing around a deeper understanding of this would be a moment where that energy is really amplified, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we now have Galactic Astrology soul reading practitioners who can offer this service in 20 different languages, which
Oh
I could have never ever dreamed that it will, grow this much in such a short amount of time. So, and these people are really very passionate about this. They live and breathe reading astrological alignments and tuning into people's energies and all these stories, and really what collectively is happening in terms of how fast the astrology is evolving now, and how we are bringing a lot more kind of intuitive insights, allowing it to be very personal and very unique to individuals, rather than in ancient astrological books when they were describing meaning of different stars or planets. It was limited and kind of doomy and gloomy, whereas now it's becoming more practical into our current day life experience. So it's wonderful to see. And there is also a free tool that we developed for anyone who would like to see which of the most commonly known stars are aligned, maybe to sun or moon or any of the planets. They can go to our website, galacticastrology.com, and find a free chart, put in either today's date, so they'll see where the stars are in position to planets, or their birth details, and be quite amazed by how much we are all connected to stars. I really do believe that all of us are connected to multiple star systems, and at different times, these different star systems become more prominent in our consciousness. So we have the opportunity at different times integrate different frequencies and wisdom and memories based on what is going on collectively as well. And I really do believe that we are ushered here from all over the universe to go through this magnificent experience of holding space for planetary ascension, for a whole planet going into higher frequency, and somehow as everything is connected and microcosm is reflected in macrocosm, I believe there is an upgrade in the whole galaxy. So what we are doing here collectively is we are remembering some of the difficult experiences across the universe, and bringing our compassionate, loving, wise soul essence into these memories, transmuting them, resolving them, and bringing more harmony and greater connectivity to the whole galaxy. As we, when we go through the stage of connecting with different galactic races, at one point we get to realizing that we can let go of all these attachments and labels and just return to the most important thing, which is being love,
Exactly.
being wisdom. And it's an amazing state to be.
I am so happy you said that, because my whole philosophy, mission, and purpose in life is to radiate love. And um, we've just tapped into this beautiful, infinite mother creation source grid that just radiates infinite love, that's boundless and vast. And as all this energy and the shift on the planet is coming in, if we can just keep realigning to that center. And as you're saying, these memories come in and they flood, and a lot of times they're difficult or they're filled with trauma. That just like you're speaking of, that we can transmute them and we can make a conscious choice collectively to shift the timeline, that we don't have to hold on to, we don't have to anchor them back in, we don't have to recreate them, we don't have to go through the cycles again, that we're at this beautiful choice point, and we get to choose love, and how beautiful is that, right?
We get to choose love. Beautiful. Yes.
Love, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I think the stage of connecting with galactics is an important one for many people as they are yearning for being seen and heard in their greatness, in
Mm.
their light and love, but they don't know that so clearly yet. They still have so many trauma memories and conditionings of the previous generations holding the, like dimming the light. So they're looking for something to pull them out of it. And then when they start opening up to the possibility that they are connected energetically to stars, you know, we really put them on the pedestal, suddenly it becomes easier for them to let go of the limited identity they carried for so long. And suddenly they are starting to kind of expand and shine more brightly. Like I am a star seed. I am obviously connected to stars when you see stars, when you see it in a chart. And then you go through that stage of obsession. But it's, you know, it's becoming shorter and shorter for people because I'm so happy that the collective that is doing the galactic astrology work, that they are focusing on not boosting egos, but to really remind people that love and kindness is really the fastest way for us to integrate all this and co-create a much more enjoyable collective experience. So I hope that helps.
It helps so much. It's like, for so many people, there's a lot of tears, a feeling of being welcomed home, a remembering of oneness, a tuning into a higher understanding, and we can shed a little bit of the density and merge back into our origin. It's really, really beautiful. So you were going to share with us about this Atlantean asteroid, which I don't know anything about, but we thought it was a nice synchronistic match since the Atlantean Light Code begins for my community, and anybody wants to join on Monday, which is just in a couple days. Um, I guess I'll share for a moment about that. I recently just returned from Italy. I was in Domenhar, which is this beautiful community that has a deep connection also with Atlantis, and a woman who was quite a specialist in Atlantean understanding was sharing with us that the founder there at Domenhar, his name was Falco, literally, and it sounds pretty outlandish and out there, but um, the story goes is that he and someone that was with him traveled through a time portal basically to Atlantis, and the person that went with him was an artist. They were there for 3 full days, kind of right at just the height of Atlantis before the Nabis, but like when we were starting to get into some decadence and ego and all that. And they came back with these and painted everything. And so they have these incredible images of Atlantis,
Ah,
a sliver of it in that moment. And it's really beautiful and fascinating. But through that whole process, it felt so important to that we focus so much on the trauma of Atlantis, and it's perhaps it's embedded in our cellular memory, and many of us collectively carry that. But yet, can we go back into the timeline where it was flourishing, and the gifts and the beauty and the love and the healing and the capacities that they held then? Can we remember that? And can we carry that? Can we pull that through the timeline and embed more of that? And so I'm curious, if that's collectively something that on some level we're kind of trying to remember to do to help usher in the new earth, to accelerate the birthing of the new energy. And if knowing anything more about this, what you're going to share, can help us or reveal why this is coming up right now.
beautiful. Such an amazing timing, because this year asteroid Atlantis is being triggered, like the energetics of the Atlantean memories in our collective consciousness is quite potent through multiple transits. And interestingly, during the time when you will lead your community to kind of connect with the energetics of Atlantis, the asteroid Atlantis is in a trine aspect to Chiron in Aries. So it's 120 degrees angle of asteroid Atlantis and Chiron, the wounded healer, an archetype that is, based on where you have it in your natal chart. It talks about the core wound that you have as a theme in your life, that usually you get to a point of learning so much about that conditioning that you felt eventually guided to help others with similar wounds. So it becomes your kind of mission,
Mm,
you know.
that's interesting.
So if we have Atlantis trining Chiron, trine is considered to be a positive aspect. It stimulates harmonious connections. It propels us in evolution in a quite effortless way. So I think it's so timely that you hold such a beautiful, loving, kind, wise, compassionate, grounded frequency, that when you are bringing collective to remember Atlantis, as you said, your intention is to connect with that higher octaves of the experiences there and the memories there. And I think it's so important to bring that in, because yes, there has been so much talk about the fall of Atlantis and everything that went wrong. But I feel so many groups that focus on clearing their own wounding with Atlantis, like that has been going on for so long, at least in my awareness. A lot of people have been focusing on healing their own trauma, um, and kind of paying their karmic debts to, if they misuse their healing and psychic gifts by their memory in Atlantis. Now actually they're focusing many, many decades on helping others in a good way, not malicious way, but benefic way. So there's been a lot of work done already. So it's beautiful that now, and especially with this positive cosmic alignment, we want to start bringing in the higher octaves of the Atlantean wisdom.
It's just so in the field right now, right? It's coming up a lot. And for a lot of people, perhaps they don't even know about Atlantis, or it just seems like some crazy fantasy and like, what the heck is that? But for a lot of people, it's just starting to seep in, and like you say, they're just having glimpses or a little bit of memories or something of attuning to these the bigger aspect of who they are vibrationally on all these different levels. And we're really starting to shed this sense of separation, this sense of who we know ourselves in this very confined construct that's breaking down all over the planet in all of the different sectors of our life. And I just love to see how it's opening up so much spaciousness to see ourselves as these galactic beings. It was the other day, when was it? On Sunday, I was channeling for the group, and I don't usually tap into Atlantis, but because it's coming in, I did. And we ended up going into the water, and the inner waters came up, and they were filled with all these codes from the Arctic. And inside them, as the ice was melting, all the memories and the wisdom and the beauty of Atlantis was rising into our cells. And then the dolphins came and they held space so that we could travel through this portal. And then we met the Atlantean Council, and they gave everybody a key to open up doorways to travel into other realms. And it seems so fantasil, like so big, bigger than life, but you could feel the potency of it, and people were crying and feeling it. And I think, back in the 80s when I started to channel, if you were at a cocktail party and people said, "What do?" You would definitely not say you channeled an angel. You would come up with something, but you can see the growth, right? In the last, like, so much growth, so many more people ready and open. And I just love the work that you're doing is taking it to the next level. It's like another whole leap of expansiveness. Just the idea that there's galactic astrology, or that we can connect to our Atlantean lifetimes and tune into the gifts that were there and remember all of this. It just expands our thinking so much. It opens our mind, and we get to look at how we've lived in such a confined, constricted construct, and it feels like they're breaking down so much. And I'm just so excited to be living in these times. It's just incredible. So You were saying that as we move into October, that it was going to even become stronger.
The asteroid Atlantis, when it is activated by magnificent force like the supergalactic center or galactic center. So our galactic center revolves around supergalactic center along over 30 other galaxies. So it's really powerful force that is influencing and impacting all of us. Then the qualities of the Atlantean era can become much more online for those souls that remember using them. There was a whole there were thousands of years when Atlantis was on the rise and where people were completely naturally working with water, with crystals, with healing properties, with intuition and telepathy, and all that can be quite prominent during this time. Yeah.
We get to feel it and do it again. We just have to
Mm.
remember it's like right there in the field and it's surfacing everywhere around us. And it's so exciting. I know, even though I've been open to all of this for so many years, I feel like just even myself, my gifts in the last maybe, I don't know, 3 to 6 months have really amped up and amplified ability to hear people across the world, to know things, to see visions, to have flashes, to self-regulate and bring more healing into the body at a faster rate on my own, to really be able to listen to the crystals even more. Like everything is just sort of amping up. And I remember years ago, Raphael said, well, you'll pierce the veil, and in the beginning, it will seem so hard, right? That pin, and it'll just keep widening. And then other people who haven't done necessarily what we might call the work will just catch up in a second, and they'll be like right there with you on the team going right through. And now I can feel this whole team of beings coming in and all the people on the planet so quickly. The awakening process is so much faster. It's like they catch up in a minute. They're like right there, ready to go with you because it feels like the memories, something has opened. And so the flooding of the remembering comes in. So it doesn't have to take in time because time is shifting as we're understanding there is no time and space. And we're really grasping that more. We don't have to go through as long of a linear time process in the remembering and the awakening. It's like it's moving faster and faster, so those of us who perhaps may have felt that we were like pulling along for a long time have opened something or held enough spaciousness or a container that others now in like a blink of an eye, they're right there and their gifts are coming online. And so if you're saying with this galactic alignment that that may amplify in the fall, that'll be.
Yes. And the side effect of these super cosmic points, as I like to call them, is quantum leaps. And I
Mm,
wouldn't be surprised if you had these like galactic center, super galactic center, and beyond points in your natal chart, because by the sounds of it, what is manifesting in your life is you are able to download things ahead of time. And usually people who have these connections, that's their everyday life experience. They are able to experience and comprehend things that are way ahead of time. And when you communicate them at the time when it's happening to you while you're downloading it, people hear you, but they don't really get it. But within the next 6 to 9 months, they get it. And they're like, actually, now I see what you're talking about. I can experience it in my own reality now. So that quantum leap is very possible then by the end of this year that people will be naturally experiencing telepathy with our friends. We already are. It's just there'll be exponentially more people in that experience of reality, of psychic kind of tuning in and receiving and knowing about something that's around the corner, and all those beautiful things of everything is connected, and we are
yeah.
just fine-tuning our natural abilities, opening up to it. And it's beautiful to see that we have so many people in the community that are helping or teaching the importance of energy hygiene and grounding tools and all those important things, because we need to know how to handle any tools. Like knife, we can cut ourselves with knife if we don't know how to handle it. So it goes hand in hand with the psychic and intuitive experience, right?
Yes, thank you for reminding us of that. That is that can be a hard lesson, and I wouldn't want anyone to go through that hard lesson. It's incredibly important to balance, right? To be in coherence. to bring in these very high energies. I lived in the celestial realm for so long, but if we don't know how to anchor it in, ground it down, integrate it, take time to integrate, to have space in between the work that we're doing, it can be dangerous. I mean, I don't want to use an alarming word like that, but it's really, really important that we use a sense of sacredness, that we take our time, that we don't rush things, that we put what we need, boundaries, what we put what we need to have in place to contain these frequencies, because they're so expansive, they're so beautiful, they're so big. But like anything, they need to be funneled in a way that we're still in our human body, we're still here in 3D, we're still in time and space, we're still living in a linear world, and it's very, very important to ground. Yeah.
We have excuse me, celestial bodies supporting that grounded spiritual experience. Right now we have a Saturn in Pisces. So Saturn is all about rules and regulations and responsibility and integrity, and Pisces is all about no boundaries, no connections. But Saturn is teaching us the importance of energetical boundaries. So a lot of people are going through that experience where if we don't maintain the energetical boundary awareness, immediately we experience the side effect and how uncomfortable it is. So that's the Saturn teaching us, actually, you really need to be aware and diligent with all that. And we also have Uranus in Taurus. Uranus is all about breaking limits and evolving fast, rapidly, and unexpectedly. But Taurus is grounding the evolutionary leaps into earthly human experience and taking care of the physical human body, and even using latest technology and sound frequencies, especially now, light therapies, all these things, but taking care of the body and the earth. So it's beautiful how everything kind of supports the whole process.
It is. I love how the universe has it all figured out. We don't have to worry about it, right? It's all lining up just how we need it. But spiritual hygiene, I've learned many lessons over the year of being so open, so loving. Oh, it's okay. And that is not does not serve us. And it's important, yeah, to be open-hearted and in a beautiful space of connecting to these higher frequencies. But we have to bring that balance of grounding and anchoring and ritual and spiritual kind of hygiene, right? That we have things in place, whatever they are, and they're different for everybody, but whatever they need to do to make sure that that's taken care of. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. So thank you.
So for anyone who is curious about the asteroid Atlantis, whether it played important role in their natal chart when they were born, where was the asteroid? It moves through the zodiac quite fast. It will stay in a sign every 3 months or so, but the movement is kind of irregular. So right now it's at 18 degrees of Leo. In summer, it'll move into Virgo and so on. So it's moving through zodiac quite fast. So you can go to a website called astro.com and figure out there how to find your personal horoscope. You put in your birth details, and then you go to extended selection, and you type in the number for asteroid Atlantis, which is 1198. And then when you calculate the chart, it'll show you where Atlantis was when you were born. And if you have a planet nearby, or your lunar nodes, or any of the symbols, it is very likely that you have had incarnations in Atlantis, and that's why you're drawn to this topic. That's why you're here watching this. It's not a coincidence. And I'm actually so curious, Kelly, now about your chart. I bet it is there because I see it with people who come forward as teachers, guides. And when something like this actually comes through their life experience, where they feel such a urge or passion to talk about it now and support the collective memory and healing and recollection of all the wonderful gifts and qualities of Atlantis, then the Atlantis was usually connected, whether through their sun or lunar nodes or midheaven. It's really there. And there is another Atlantis that is connected to Lemurian age that preceded Atlantis. And I believe the asteroid Hawaii is indicator of that, because through people that also recall Lemurian era and who have this beautiful, beautiful frequency, and especially wisdom of water is coming through their teachings. Asteroid Hawaii is usually in aspect to asteroid Atlantis. So it's like they're passing the wisdom of the Lemuria through Atlantean age now into our current life experience. It's just so, so mind-blowing how it's all there.
It's
Mm,
amazing. It's so
mm,
amazing. Yeah, the Lemurian energy, I have to be, if I'm to be honest, is my favorite, even
mm.
over the Atlantean. It's
It
so,
feels stronger with you. It absolutely feels stronger with you. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel much more connected to the Lemurian energy. We were privileged to have Veda on not long ago. We made her this Lemurian
Ah,
beautiful mermaid painting with her image in it. And it was just so sweet how, whether it's water or any of the elements right now, we're starting to tune to them in such a different way and are remembering that they are alive beings. And I love how so many people are now referring to water as she or
mm.
as an energy, it's as an entity.
Consciousness, living being. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just tuning in and remembering that we did that with all of the elements as well. We're focused, water
Beautiful.
is so big right now, and so many codes are coming in from the water, and we're loving it and honoring it and receiving it and healing with it and communicating with it, which is so beautiful. Um, but it just tuning into all the elements as
I love that you're saying that. Yes.
living.
Mm,
We don't want to leave out fire, earth, and air, and even the etheric energies, right?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is such a thing as elements in astrology. So some people will have more fire element, more earth element. Some will be quite equally proportional between all four elements. And sometimes if you are over um, equipped with one element and really short on the other, usually you meet a partner who will fill in the gap because they'll have the opposite element. It's interesting to see that in relationships. Or then once you're aware of it, of any lack or over um, abundance of certain element, you can consciously then work with them and find more balance or bring more balance into your life. So that too is quite fun to work with.
Yeah, isn't it? And who we're attracted to, depending on what we need at any moment, right? I'm all water. I'm Pisces and Cancer, so big
Ah, beautiful.
water
That
department.
makes sense.
Yeah.
There's one more thing I want to mention because you have such a strong connection with the archangels as you channeled them. There are four royal stars in heavens that in ancient Persia were considered the guardians of heavens on each cardinal direction, and each of them is connected to different archangel. And people who feel very strong, prominent connection to the archangels, like Archangel Michael, they would always, at least in my experience, when I've met them, have a star Aldebaran in their natal chart. Then if you have Antares, another royal star, Archangel Uriel is quite strong and often shows up as your guardian. If you have royal star Fomalhaut in your life, and then the Archangel Raphael may be your guardian, and you may have affinity to that. And if you have, Royal Star Regulus, then Archangel Raphael may be your guide, and Star Fomalhaut, then Archangel Gabriel, the divine messenger, may be your guide. And it also manifests through your life experience by inclination towards the frequencies that each of these archangels represent. That also is another mind-blowing area to explore and
There's
see.
so many things to learn and to find out. Oh, I
Mm,
would love to know that because I've been channeling Raphael from the beginning, 30 some years now, and the angel of healing. And when Raphael first came in back in the 80s, we were taping it on little tape recorders and asking who it
mm.
was, and it said it was the Archangel Raphael. We're like, no way, it can't be. So I'd be so curious to see. Yeah, that's amazing.
We're gonna have a look after the recording.
Okay, that sounds like fun. Well, this has just been so wonderful. Thank you so
Mm.
much, Julia.
There is one more thing that I've noticed at the end of your, is it a 3-week process that you will lead your community with the Atlantean
Yeah,
focus?
So I downloaded 33 light codes a couple of years ago, and we've done 20 of them so far. One was in Ireland. It was called The Goddess of the Swords was Danu and the Tuta Dananan, and we were at Ben Buelven and we were at Mullenhead, and we had the most we opened up 9 portals with Bridget. It was incredible. And then we just did the New Earth Code where everybody tuned into the New Earth, and Mary Magdalene came in and we worked with this mother source creation grid to merge it with the Christ consciousness grid. And it was like everybody was crying and it was so beautiful. And now it's the Atlantean code. It starts on Monday. And yeah, each code is 3 weeks.
Mm.
Um, and it's in the mornings, and I channel, and we do activations, and it's kind of, I mean, can be life-changing for people. So yeah, it starts on Monday for 3 weeks.
So I just want to say then during that period of time, the asteroid Atlantis will be going through the higher degrees of Leo. So Leo, if we think about the archetype of Leo as the precessional cycle or the age of Leo at the time of the fall of Atlantis, that may come into consciousness of certain individuals that'll be drawn to it. The shadow side of Leo being needing attention, needing recognition. Um,
Ego stuff.
yeah, very much the ego stuff. And then flipping that to the bright side of Leo, the light side of Leo, of generous heart and shining your light if regardless of the feedback, you simply do it because you love being the light,
Mm.
and sharing and co-creating with others. So that may be the kind of something that people will be reflecting upon in their life experience. And then it's trining Chiron, as I mentioned, in Aries. So the archetype of Aries, that may have again play its role in the end of Atlantean era, when certain individuals were in the leadership position and perhaps quite selfishly not thinking about how their actions will impact the collective. And Aries' shadow side is about me, myself, and I, and not really considering others. So then the light side of Aries is becoming the pioneer, but inspiring others to get excited about new possibilities and new potentials. So that may be important. And trining Uranus, squaring Uranus in Taurus, it's about those leaps of evolution, but remembering the importance of taking good care of the body. So just kind of putting all that in, these energies will be quite potent during this time. But at the end of that 3 week, the last day, the 21st of June, asteroid Sekhmet will be exactly conjunct asteroid Atlantis. And
Oh,
Sekhmet in
that's the
aging.
summer solstice too. It's the day.
Yes, yes, I think it's very, very significant.
Wow.
So,
And there's a full moon that day as well. I'm going to be in
so
Seattle at the
yes, I'm so glad I spotted that thanks to this conversation. So, for anyone who might not know, in ancient Egyptian mythology, Sekhmet was considered to be the warrior goddess, but also the goddess of medicine. Like, she will fight for justice and what is important, and will not let the misuse or abuse of power. She will protect what's sacred, but also bring medicine to those who are in alignment with divine original blueprints, right? So there's a lot of powerful energetics that will be supporting this journey that you're on and that you're taking your audience on with you. And I look forward sharing it with my audience too. I'm sure they'll resonate so much with your frequency.
Oh, well, thank you. That's so interesting. I'm so glad you shared that with me, because in the middle of teaching the code, I'll be flying to Scotland to the Outer Hebrides to Iona and Skye and Isle of Lewis and Harris, but we'll be at the Cavendish Stones for the summer solstice. And then the full moon. But if you're saying Sekhmet's frequency will be potent then, of that warrior, powerful, protective, fierce Sekhmet energy, right? I love
And
Sekhmet.
together with Atlantis, I think that's really special.
Yeah.
I feel like beings that were in Atlantis, witnessing the collapse, feeling perhaps, well, from some of the QHHD sessions what I've witnessed people going through some of those memories, the sense of helplessness and deep sadness by not being able to do anything about it, like really having to surrender to the ending of something that was so magnificent, so amazing. So I believe the segment frequency, the warrior with the Atlantis during the eclipse or during the summer solstice, I feel those souls in our human bodies now will feel a resolution of those feelings of frustration and sadness, and there'll be this healing to accepting that there was this big age of consciousness descending. Like, we learned so many lessons through all the thousands of years of oppression and duality and polarity games, and we can see the value of all that now. So I feel there may be a lot of, emotional release and upgrade to greater peace and greater wisdom in seeing the balance of that universe is holding no matter what, that there's much greater cycles that we are part of. So, and also, if there are souls, and there are souls here who still feel like they can take it all and rule all, and I feel
You
those
won't
heads
put up with that.
I feel those heads will be falling, and that segment frequency will help that. I'm witnessing people telling me stories where how they are standing up to their toxic family members or toxic boss, and like that these energies coming through them suddenly, and they just and the toxic behavior, these people are seeing that they can't do it anymore, like it's not working anymore. So I feel if that is happening collectively, I mean,
For
we can
people
do
to
it.
finally come into their power and hold that segment vibration and stand in
Yeah,
their personal
with
power.
great respect, I have to say it's beautiful to see that we don't fight back with their style of communication, but we just hold ground with wisdom, love, and integrity and respect. So we got
Exactly.
this.
We got this. We got this. Really quick, the one thing that we thought was interesting is so often we talk about, well, when Atlantis falls and the greed and the ego and the overabundance and all of that of, taking advantage of things. But we forget about that perhaps that was a very small portion of the people that were there. And so
Yes.
many were held as, I don't want to talk about victim consciousness because it's all woven together divinely perfectly, but on some level, we're just helpless, like you were saying, to what was happening and the trauma of that, and that this segment vibration of coming back in and standing in their power in like you say, in integrity, in a beautiful and loving but strong way with boundaries and clarity. And if all that healing could resonate and funnel in during this time, right at the summer solstice, how special is that? That's so great.
I must add one more thing. While you were talking, the Chiron in Aries talked about people who feel like they didn't do enough, like people who are carrying guilt. I think guilt will also be cleared. And Chiron in Aries is teaching us to accept our humanity, accept our divinity, and kind of be at peace with kind of collective forces also working with us. Like, we can't control everything and everyone. So letting go of feeling guilty, like we didn't do enough. And even in this lifetime, there people have this unconscious conditioning of like, I should do more, and I should help everyone because I know what would help them, and I can't. Like, we need to let go of that
Mm.
too. So hopefully that somehow will transpire also during the experience over the next few weeks.
I love that. Just letting go. We don't have to fix it all, and we can't, and we can just be.
So greater self-love then as a result. Mm.
Really, really is, right? Just some gentleness with ourselves and compassion for
Mm.
ourselves. Yeah. Well, this has been delightful, and you are amazing. And I'm so glad we finally got to connect. And please go and visit Julia's website and all of her information. We'll put it down below in the description, and find out where the asteroid Atlantis is and all this stuff. And thank you for all of your service. And you have such a tender heart and are very much in integrity and love. I can sense that. And I appreciate you taking the time today to talk to our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I see you too. I feel you. Much love to all.
Okay, thanks.